صلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Chapter on the interpretation of dreams after the Fajr prayer. Narrated Samura bin Jundub. May Allah be pleased with him. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, very often used to ask his companions, "Did any one of you see a dream?" So dreams would be narrated to him by those whom Allah willed to relate. One morning the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Last night 2 persons came to me in a dream and woke me up and said to me, 'Proceed.' I set out with them, and we came across a man lying down, and behold, another man was standing over his head, holding a big rock. Behold, he was throwing the rock at the man's head, injuring it. The rock rolled away, and the thrower followed it and took it back. By the time he reached the man, his head returned to its normal state. The thrower then did the same as he had done before. I said to my 2 companions, 'Subhanallah, who are these 2 persons?' They said, 'Proceed, proceed.' So we proceeded and came to a man lying in a prone position and another man standing over his head with an iron hook. And behold, he would put the hook in one side of the man's mouth and tear off that side of his face to the back of the neck, and similarly tear his nose from front to back and his eye from front to back. Then he turned to the other, second side of the man's face and did just as he had done with the first side. He hardly completed that second side when the first side returned to its normal state. Then he returned to it to repeat what he had done before. I said to my 2 companions, 'Subhanallah, who are these 2 persons?' They said to me, 'Proceed, proceed.' So we proceeded and came across something like a tanur, a kind of baking oven, a pit usually clay-lined for baking bread. Samura bin Jundub said, I think the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, 'In that oven there was much noise and voices.' The Prophet, peace be upon him, added, 'We looked into it and found naked men and women, and behold, a flame of fire was reaching to them from underneath, and when it reached them, they cried loudly. I asked them, 'Who are these?' They said to me, 'Proceed, proceed.' And so we proceeded and came across a river. I think he said, 'red like blood.' The Prophet, peace be upon him, added, 'And behold, in the river there was a man swimming, and on the bank there was a man who had collected many stones. Behold, while the man who was swimming went near the latter, the former opened his mouth, and the latter on the bank threw a stone into his mouth, whereupon he went swimming again. Then again, he, the former, would return to him, the latter. And every time the former returned, he opened his mouth, and the latter threw a stone into his mouth, and so on. The performance was repeated. I asked my 2 companions, 'Who are these 2 persons?' They replied, 'Proceed, proceed.' And we proceeded till we came to a man with a repulsive appearance, the most repulsive appearance you ever saw a man having. Beside him there was a fire, and he was kindling it and running around it. I asked my companions, 'Who is this man?' They said to me, 'Proceed, proceed.' So we proceeded till we reached a garden of deep green dense vegetation, having all sorts of spring color. In the midst of the garden there was a very tall man, and I could hardly see his head because of his great height. And around him there were children in such a large number as I have never seen. I said to my companions, 'Who is this?' They replied, 'Proceed, proceed.' So we proceeded till we came to a majestic, huge garden, greater and better than I have ever seen. My 2 companions said to me, 'Ascend up,' and I ascended up. The Prophet, peace be upon him, added, 'So we ascended till we reached a city built of gold and silver bricks, and we went to its gate and asked the gatekeeper to open the gate. And it was opened, and we entered the city and found in it men with one side of their bodies as handsome as the most handsome person you have ever seen, and the other side as ugly as the ugliest person you have ever seen. My 2 companions ordered those men to throw themselves into the river. Behold, there was a river flowing across the city, and its water was like milk in whiteness. Those men went and threw themselves in it, and then returned to us after the ugliness of their bodies had disappeared, and they became in the best shape. The Prophet, peace be upon him, further added, my 2 companions, angels, said to me, 'This place is the Aden paradise, and that is your place.' I raised up my sight, and behold, there I saw a palace like a white cloud. My 2 companions said to me, 'That palace is your place.' I said to them, 'May Allah bless you both. Let me enter it.' They replied, 'As for now you will not enter it, but you shall enter it one day.' I said to them, 'I have seen many wonders tonight. What does all that mean which I have seen?' They replied, "We will inform you. As for the first man you came upon whose head was being smashed with the rock, he symbolizes the one who studies the Quran and then neither recites it nor acts on its orders and sleeps, neglecting the enjoined salah, prayers. As for the man you came upon whose sides of mouth, nostrils, and eyes were torn off from front to back, he is the symbol of the man who goes out of his house in the morning and tells lies that is spreads all over the world. And those naked men and women whom you saw in a construction resembling an oven, they are the adulterers and the adulteresses, and the man whom you saw swimming in the river and given a stone to swallow is the eater of riba, usury, and the ugly-looking man whom you saw near the fire, kindling it and going around it, is Malik, the gatekeeper of hell, and the tall man whom you saw in the garden is Ibrahim, Abraham, peace be upon him, and the children around him are those children who die with al-Fitrah. The Islamic faith of monotheism. The narrator added, some Muslims asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, "O Allah's Messenger, what about the children of al-Mushrikun, polytheists, pagans, idolaters, and disbelievers in the oneness of Allah and His Messenger Muhammad, peace be upon him?" The Prophet, peace be upon him, replied, "And also the children of al-Mushrikun." The Prophet, peace be upon him, added, and my two companions added, "The men you saw half handsome and half ugly were those persons who had mixed an act that was good with another that was evil, but Allah forgave them." Footnote: Riba, usury, which is of two major kinds. A. Riba nasiya, that is interest on lent money. B. Riba fadl, that is taking a superior thing of the same kind of goods by giving more of the same kind of goods of inferior quality. For example, dates of superior quality for dates of inferior quality in greater amount. Islam strictly forbids all kinds of usury.